Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most impressive projects in Decentraland called Decentral Games.
By far, for sure, yeah.
So if you haven't heard about Decentral Games, you're going to want to listen to what we have to say because this is fundamentally important. We're talking about infrastructure layer economic pieces to the metaverse. And so what Decentral Games, hats off to you, Miles. What you've created is very, very impressive. So let's get into this. Let's get into what is actually happening. So we're in Decentraland right now, and I'm looking at an ice poker table. So specifically, that's Texas Hold'em. So if you don't know how to play Texas Hold'em, it's basically like poker, just with a little twist. And so what's happening here is that people are playing poker for free. It's a play to earn sort of system that they've implemented here. And in this system, in order to play, you need to get a Decentral Games wearable. And so you can't play without this wearable. So what's happening now is that people are purchasing this wearable and they're delegating to other players so that they can play on their behalf. And so there's like a revenue split based on this activity. So you play to earn, and you win tokens. And as a result, if you're like in the lead, you actually potentially earn DG tokens, which is their governance token. But as you're playing, you're accumulating ICE tokens, which gets split between those who win, who are the actual players, and those who are delegating the actual assets to those players. So this is exactly what we saw with Axie Infinity. And now it's being applied to poker in Decentraland. And so let's just take a look at the actual metrics for all this. So I-Man, you sent me a couple of links here.
Yeah, these all came out today from the man himself, from Miles. So, hats off to him. Like, we already gave him his clout and his credit. We gave him his G pass, whatever you want to call it. He's officially a gangster of the metaverse. He's over here generating hundreds of millions of dollars annualized, according to these tweets, right? So This is unheard of, dude. I don't think anything in the metaverse has gotten anywhere close to as far as, this level of success is like an enterprise, right? Like, actual revenue being generated. And it's one of the more overlooked, like, aspects, I guess, to because they're very DAO focused. Like, they have a very impactful DAO, so a lot of these revenue gets funneled to it. And a lot of DAOs, they don't really think about like the revenue aspect as much as Decentral Games is. Which, if you watch some of our videos in the past, we've always said, like, DAOs, this needs to be priority number one. It's like the growth of your treasury. It's not just minting a bunch of tokens and allocating it to it. You have to create products or services or experiences and generate revenue and funnel in more, cash flow, I guess, into your treasury, because that's how it sustains for the long run. So it's not just the game economy that he's building, but it's also like the governance structure that Decentral Games is kind of pioneering. And
that's right.
It's so many things they're doing right. So
So like you're saying, 236 million annualized sort of revenue here, 8.2 million in ETH mints, 6.2 million in ICE mints, 660,000 secondary fees in ETH. And so let's take a look at what the secondary fees he's talking about. So I think we can pull up these wearables. So these are the wearables that that need to be delegated, or you could be used to actually play in the poker game.
So this is where the similarities and the comparisons to Axie come from. Like, and you want to do that because Axie is the trailblazing concept in the play to earn ecosystem, universe, whatever, that everybody should be emulating at this point because of its wild success, right? And so think of these wearables as, you owning an Axie, essentially. Like, they're necessary components in order to play the game and to earn the tokens that are being distributed through the gameplay. So they don't look like Axies, they're not poof balls. They're little, it's clothing that you put on your Decentraland avatar, right? But like Will said, whenever you delegate these assets to other people to play on your behalf, they're not necessarily wearing them, right?
They're not.
You can see it right now. You jump in. I don't see any DG wearables on these people. But that's the point. They're not the ones buying these wearables, right?
Yeah.
Because if you buy these assets, you can only play one table at a time, right? If you're an asset owner.
Yeah.
So that's what the whole Axie thing kind of pioneered. You know, you can own 100 different Axies, but you can only play one game at a time with 3 Axies. Like, damn, what a waste of 97 Axies, right?
That's right.
So that's where the scholarship / rental economy kind of emerged, and it onboarded like a whole new player base. Like now there's earning potential without you actually having to invest or have skin in the game. You know, you can just kind of contribute your work, your time.
Yeah, check this out, man. Somebody bought a bomber jacket ice level 5 for 3.9 ETH.
There you go.
This was an hour ago.
So there's levels to these things too, right? So there's level 1 through 5.
Yes. And so I think when you continuously play, you can upgrade your wearables. And so this is huge because Decentral Games is using Decentraland's wearables smart contract. And so for each wearable, like for example, if I go back here and I show you the different levels here, let's go to Ice Airlines here. Each wearable has, or each level has 5 different wearables, right? Glasses, hat, shirt, pants, shoes. And you only need one of these in order to play. And I think you get bonuses if you're wearing or basically delegating everything, right? My point here is that because you're using the Decentraland smart contract, each level is its own mint, right? These are 5 times 5. There's 25 wearables here. And then whenever you're playing and you're upgrading your wearables, each one gets burnt and then you get upgraded, right? Mm-hmm. So because they're using Decentraland smart contract, they have to mint 25 versus just the 5 and then upgrading those 5. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting kind of understanding just because they have to use Decentraland's wearables. Now, one thing that we sort of discovered is that they didn't necessarily have to use Decentraland wearables. I think there's just they're tapping into a growing ecosystem of wearable aficionados, if you will. But they could have easily generated, instead of wearables, could be Ferraris and Vipers and Lambos, right? Those could have been easily delegated to these people, and then because it's their own smart contract, they could have upgraded those smart contracts and then upgraded the cars. But that's my point here, is that the infrastructure that they're showcasing can be leveraged by other people in the metaverse. And what we're saying is, not only can it be leveraged, it will be leveraged, right? We saw it with Axie. We're seeing it with Decentral Games. We're going to see it with other games and other playable experiences, because we're able to facilitate that token economy with this. For example, in the ice poker tournament that we're seeing here, you're collecting ice tokens. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to behold, just because of where we started in Decentraland and like where we are today, and to see we've witnessed the growth of the Decentral Games ecosystem all along the way. You know, they've applied play to earn brilliantly to their game, to their overall ecosystem, and it's proving a lot of assumptions that we had in the first place. And it says this is officially like the killer application, I think, for Decentraland. Like this is the singular experience that's bringing in tens of thousands of users to Decentraland Metaverse.
Yeah.
For the longest time, everyone was speculating, when are people going to start playing? When are they going to show up? When are they going to come? What's going to bring retention? You know, because I mean, we've been sitting at this table for probably an hour. You know, before we started recording, we've been hanging out at this table for probably like an hour just to spectate.
Yeah.
None of these people have left. They're all here. They're all still logged into Decentraland, right? And this is what you want as like a metaverse platform. And we've been kind of like, we've been preaching this choir for our whole existence, right? Like these are the experiences that are going to make the metaverse like a killer space, you know, because it's not just showing up to different dance parties every single night. You know, it's like that's a thing you can experience for 30 minutes to an hour. You got no reason to log back in once that DJ left the stage. You know what I mean? Like this, you could do this all day long, every single day, which most of these people will do because there's so much to gain from it, right? Yep. So extrapolate from here. Decentraland's massive. This is only like a tiny segment of like Decentraland, like what's happening here in this casino. these same principles can be applied throughout the entire damn space, right? And that's kind of like the assumption we had when we first came into Decentraland. Like, you should be able to wander out these casinos and like just stumble onto other play to earn experiences that have similar reward and structure, similar ecosystem, art, design. It becomes a playground at that point, right? Where you could just wander the metaverse and always find your opportunity around no matter what, right? It's not necessarily playing poker. It could be slaying this random beast that's wandering around, earning yourself, new materials for a game that eventually you could, I don't know, play and earn yourself that token. It could be it doesn't matter. There's a lot of potential, right? A lot of variance. But the point being, I kind of like look at this and see the same thing I saw with the CryptoKitties thing, right? Like, this is the first killer app. So I'm anticipating many more to follow, right? Just like how the NFT industry is in the hundreds of billions of dollars now, right? So this is huge, like you said early on.
And what's fun about this is understanding the economics that are occurring here, and seeing the similarities that Axie sort of pioneered with the whole scholarship program, the fact that you needed 3 Axies in order to play. Each Axie was like $200. And then the example you posted, if you had 100 Axies, you could only play once, one at a time, right? And so your 97 are left, being wasted.
Yeah, they're just collecting dust.
Yeah, so now you can delegate them, and all of a sudden you have essentially 30 players playing with your 100 Axies, and now you're actually generating some income that raises eyebrows. So that became huge. And so now we're seeing that with Decentral Games. We can apply that to basically any experience in Decentraland. It's just there needs to be a framework for people to leverage, because what Decentral Games built is basically from the bottom up. Same thing with Axie, right? They started with nothing, and all of a sudden they have this good economy. And this isn't, you can't understate, or you can't overestimate how much work it takes in order to execute this. And so that barrier, that work barrier, in order to implement this in your game, your experience, it should be lowered, right? And so, that's one of the things that needs to be worked on, is lowering that barrier to entry for creators to tap into this working ecosystem, right? So that's what's really fascinating, in my eyes about all this.
Yeah. So having said all that, do we have eyes on the token price of today or the valuation of DG token?
I do not. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Let's bring that up.
Yeah, let's bring it up, just because, where are we in the Decentral Games growth cycle? If we're making these Axie Infinity comparisons, because, once you go through all these analytical metrics that Miles posted today on Twitter, it's just eerily reminiscent to like the early days of Axie Infinity, once that critical mass started to accumulate, right, for that ecosystem. So Decentral Games is experiencing the exact same thing, but the price is yet to match that growth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So let's compare that. So let's bring up Axie, AXS, their own governance token.
Yeah, so the ICE token functions very similar to like Axie's SLP token, right? Like, that's the main game token that you're earning through gameplay. Jesus. Yeah, and the AXS is like their governance token, right?
Their governance. Decentral Games DG, governance token, 141 million compared to 4 billion.
Yeah, I mean.
So what, less than 40x potentially?
Yeah, tremendous upside, in my opinion. Like, it's huge. And like, if you go through these Twitter posts, look at all these different, at the top left, the Twitter posts.
Here.
Yeah, let's just go through all of them. So this here is more than 3,000 ice poker guilds have already assembled.
Damn.
So what's a guild? A guild is essentially like a scholarship, right?
Yes. Yeah, so basically somebody who has a bunch of wearables, and they're delegating out to a group of people who all funnel their playtime and their earnings back to the delegator, of course, to themselves as well. Yeah,
because like guilds are, it's there's a lot of management. If think of a guild as like it's a business,
it's a team. It's a team. Whenever your team sucks, or whenever one of their players sucks, you got to get them out and bring in a new player, right?
Yeah, I kind of equate it to like a fleet, like ownership of like a fleet of like trucks, delivery trucks or whatever. Like if you own all these if you own a trucking company, you gotta pay a bunch of truckers to deliver your goods and stuff like that, right? And if one of your truckers isn't making his deliveries, he's not generating you as much revenue as that truck should be bringing you in, right? So what do? You gotta remove his delegation and bring in somebody else who can actually, put in the time and the work to, meet the demands of your trucking guild, if you will. So that's a business, right? And the same thing is happening in these digital economies. So it's there's work involved to owning a guild and delegating assets and stuff. So this is good to see. There's steady growth and again, very Axie reminiscent.
Okay, so
this is the daily active DAU, right?
Yeah. Well,
so again, like this is huge considering this is all in Decentraland. Like,
yeah, this is all happening in Decentraland.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a time in a day where like cracking 100 DAU in all of Decentraland was like a major feat.
Yeah.
I remember those days like it was yesterday.
On average, there was tens of people in Decentraland on average, and then whenever there was an event, it would crack 100,
like 1 to 200, like some kind of speaking event or something like that, or a party. Yeah, this was like during crypto winter, before NFT mania, before metaverse mania. Like, it was that ghost. But now, this is what I mean. All these metrics are just this evidence of killer app, potential.
Yeah. Decentral Games monthly active users as of last month, 183,000.
Unreal. Fucking unreal.
Yeah, man.
So this is the power of play to earn, dude. Like,
yeah.
This is, and Decentraland, I think, definitely is taking note of this. This should expedite Decentraland's effort to improve the SDK so there's more gameplay functionality for developers to leverage so they can create better play to earn ecosystems similar to this, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're Decentraland Foundation, you love to see this and you want to see more of this. You want Decentraland to have millions of users, right? Mm-hmm. So this is how you do it. We got to have hundreds of Decentral game ecosystems within Decentraland, and yeah, man, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, man. If you guys, you can't underestimate what we're talking about here, because everybody wants to be in Axie and hold Axie tokens when they were worth $20 million. But this is it. This is what we're talking about. That potential 20x, 30x return is right here. And so
and there's tons of play to earn games now like out, but I haven't seen many with these kind of metrics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, hopefully we made a good case here for Decentral Games. So yeah, if you have any questions about Decentraland, Decentral Games, let us know in the comment section below. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at The Block Runner and also at MetaZone.io. We will catch you in the next video.
Peace out.